Needles and Stems. I'm Carrie, I'm your host, and today is July 13th, 2025, and I'm going to talk about works in progress, finished objects, knit-alongs, more out than in, my patterns, and gardening. First, I'd like to say welcome to any new viewers that we have. Thanks very much for checking out the podcast. And thank you very much to those of you who have been watching the videos. I noticed that my last video had almost double the amount of views as the ones before it. So thank you so much for coming back and watching the videos and for telling your friends. Make sure you like and subscribe so that I can keep making them. I just want to remind everybody I do have a Ravelry group. We are up to 19 members now. It's called Knitting Needles and Stems. Come on over and we can talk about the episode, or if you're working on something, I'd love to see what you're working on, and just pop in and say hello. And if you want, I can shout out to you on the podcast. So what's new? A few days ago, I had my oncologist follow-up appointment. If you don't know, a few years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. I went through all the treatments and had a lumpectomy and am so far cancer-free since October of 2023. I do have to go to my oncologist every 3 months to get an exam and get a shot, and they do a blood test. There's actually a blood test that can find breast cancer cells, and will let him know if there are any of those cells in there. So that's really reassuring. I've had it done twice before and it's came back with no signs of the cells, and so I'm hopeful that this time it will too, but I'll report back to you and let you know how that comes out. I also have my Wisconsin plaque here for the state parks. You can see I have another tree for Copper Falls. Yesterday, on Saturday, me and some friends went to Copper Falls and hiked around the park. It's a couple-mile hike with some great waterfalls, and it's called Copper Falls because the water kind of looks like root beer. Me and my daughter were joking that it was root beer with foam, because the river foam will look like a root beer float when you pour the ice cream in there and put the root beer in there, and it foams up really, really big. But anyway, there's a lot of stairs at Copper Falls, and I'm proud to say that I made it up and down all the stairs without any issue. It actually seemed a lot easier than it has been for me in the past. So I'm really encouraged by the extra exercising that I've been doing lately, and I am getting stronger. Okay, we don't have any shout outs today, so let's move on to works in progress. I have quite a few works in progress for you here. I don't know why I've been casting on a lot of stuff. It's more fun to cast on sometimes than it is to finish what you're working on. The first thing I've been working on is my Musselburgh by Ysolda Teague. For this one, I'm using Knitologie, Sheen, and Titmouse, and Beach Bunny Yarns World Traveler in the Espresso colorway. I finished all of my Knit Picks Sheen here. That's all that I had left from my flax light sweater that I finished a while back. And I've started the Beach Bunny Yarns Espresso here. So I think these two colors will be a nice contrast to each other. I'm hoping that it's long enough. It seems like it will be long enough to be able to put it on and fold up the brim. That way you'll have either the colorful side with a brown brim folded up, or you can have the brown side with the colorful brim folded up. Again, that's the Musselburgh by Ysolda Teague, and I'm using Knitologie Sheen in the Titmouse colorway and Beach Bunny Yarns World Traveler in Espresso. I also worked a little bit more on my Australian Red Cross Trauma Teddy. On the last episode, I couldn't remember what the name of it was, but that's what it is. Last time I had one leg. This time I have 2 legs and the body, and I've started on the head. So I should be able to finish this little guy tomorrow. on Monday is my day that I work on my teddy bears for charities. So I should be able to finish him tomorrow. And the theme this month for the Bears for Charity group that I'm in is literary bears. I don't know how this bear will fit in. I just finished a book called The Summer Book. I don't know who the author is, but I'll link it in the show notes. And I think this is going to be I'm going to name her after the little girl that was in that book. Her name was Sophie. So I think that's what this bear's name will be. Again, that's the Australian Red Cross Trauma Teddy Bear. And I'm not sure what charity I'm going to be sending them to yet. I'm not going to send it to Australia with all the postage problems that are going on and everything. That is just not feasible for me right now. So I will find a good charity to send her to, though. The next thing I've been working on is actually for the Project a Month knit along group. It is the Summer Mesh Sweater by Susan Frick. And for this one, I'm using Hemp for Knitting, number 210, Hempton in Marine. Okay. I've finished one whole skein, and I've started on the second. I have to have 18 inches of the body. Now, this pattern is written to be knit flat and garter stitch. But I decided that I was going to knit it in the round using stockinette stitch instead of garter stitch. And so that's what I'm doing, going in the round with stockinette stitch. So it's just knit, 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 knit. And it's really on really big needles. That's what makes it mesh. And the yarn is so little compared to the needles. So it's an experience. I'm not used to using such big needles with such little yarn, but I really like the way that it's turning out. I really like the feel of this yarn in the summer, because it's not wool. It is, let's see what the fiber content is here. It is 40% cotton, 30% hemp, and 30% modal. So it's really nice to work with on a hot summer day because it doesn't have the heat that wool gives you, or alpaca, or any of the other animal fibers. So again, that's the Summer Mesh Sweater by Susan Frick, using Hemp for Knitting, number 210, Hempton in Marine. Okay, the next thing that I've been working on, I cast these on the 4th of July. Well, a few days before the 4th of July, which was a little late, and you'll understand what I mean when I show you this yarn. This is the Broken Jack pattern by General Hogbuffer. And for this one, I'm using Biscotte Yarns Bis-Sock and the colorway number 190708. How great is that colorway? Anyway, so this is what I got so far. I'm making my socks in tandem. I make one cuff and the next cuff. Right now I'm working on the leg, and then I'll do the leg on this other sock, and then I'll do the heel on one, heel on the other, foot on one, foot on the other. But you can see I've already made one pass of the nice diamond. Well, it's a half diamond there, but this one is going to be a full diamond. I haven't made it to the full part of the short rows here yet, but it's a really interesting looking sock, and it's made all in short row diamonds. And I'm going to do 2 passes. I've already done one pass to make it flat around. I'm going to do 2 passes on the leg on each, and then I'm not sure how he's going to have me do it for the foot to make sure that it will fit my foot instead of having to finish a diamond, or a diamond A or diamond B, which the A makes the mountain peaks, like here. This is an A, and then it's filled in with the B. Here you can see it fills in the 2 mountains. So you do the 2 mountains, and then you do the 2 valleys, and then you'll do 2 mountains and then 2 valleys, and it just goes on like that for the leg. But I'm not sure how it'll end up being for the foot, because I want it to fit my foot. I don't want it to have to go to the end of that that pattern that peaks and valleys that it's making. So we'll see. Again, that is the Broken Jack by General Hogbuffer, using Biscotte yarns, Bis-Sock, and the colorway 190708. The next thing I've been working on is my Steeking Appetizer for the Knitting in the Loft Summer Color Work Challenge 2025. I've talked about some of the other appetizers that we've done on color dominance. I think color dominance is the only one that I've talked about, and maybe I talked a little bit about the letterback jacquard last time. But this is my Steeking Appetizer that Nancy McFlurry wrote for our group, and you can see I'm going to be steeking here, and I'm going to be steeking here and here and here. So I'll have 4 little squares when I'm done. I could use them as coasters. I'm not sure if I could use them as coasters because they might be just a little bit too small. But this is just some leftover yarn that I had. It's a stickier yarn. When you're steeking, you want to kind of use yarns that want to stick together, because even though you do reinforce the steek before you cut, you want to make sure that nothing's going to go anywhere after you cut your yarn, because you want, especially if you're working on something big like a cardigan, then you want to make sure those stitches are staying there. So this is my Steeking Appetizer for the Knitting in the Loft Summer Color Challenge that we're doing. And then I have a pair of socks on the needles that I can't tell you about right now. They're a secret project for now, but it won't be long and I'll be able to tell you about those. So let's move to my dishcloth. This is the Euhedral Dishcloth by Joyce Fassbender. I'm using Knit Picks Dishie and Lilac Mist. I've barely cast this on. It's just the garter stitch that's going to be at the bottom, and that's all that I've got for this dishcloth. Like I've told you before, I love knit dishcloths, knit and crochet dishcloths, because they seem like they clean the dishes really well. They have that extra little bit of texture on them to help to scrub stuff away. So again, that's the Euhedral Dishcloth by Joyce Fassbender, using Knit Picks Dishie in Lilac Mist. And then we get to my counted cross stitch. This is what I work on Tuesdays. And I am really close to moving out of this circle. My deer is almost done. The whole sky is almost filled in. And then I'm going to move up to this section up here and finish that tree. And just, I'm really excited that I'm almost done with this section. It's really encouraging to be able to see from podcast to podcast the progress that I've made. So this is the Day's End by Judy Gibson, and I've been working on this forever. Like literally, it feels like it's been my entire life. But I know that it hasn't, and I know that eventually it'll get done since I'm working on it regularly now. So that's the Day's End counted cross stitch by Judy Gibson. Now it's time to move on to finished objects. I don't have nearly as many finished objects as I have works in progress, but we will start with Make Gnome Mistake by Sarah Schira. For this one, I use Leading Men Fiber Arts Showstopper and Antique Sleigh Ride. That's the yellow. Drama Queen is the purple. And Darkest Hour is this dark color here. This gnome is just adorable. I really love this pattern. I've made it before. I love his little mushroom on his hat. I like his little flat nose. And I really like this shaggy beard. So he is just he's one of my favorites. And me and my husband were talking. We were invited to a housewarming party or an open house or something that one of his clients was having. And My husband is a painter, and he has his own business, and so he has many clients in many different stages of life and stuff. And one of his clients invited us over, and we took him a bottle of wine, and I said, well, why don't we start taking gnomes when your client, he's the second client that's invited us over. I said, maybe we should start taking gnomes to some of your clients, because I make so many gnomes and I love them. And I could have gnomes all over my house, but my husband seems to think that I have a lot of gnomes, and I do like to give stuff to people to make them, it just makes their day. Who wouldn't want a gnome, right? So again, this is Make Gnome Mistake by Sarah Schira, using Leading Men Fiber Arts Showstopper in Antique Sleigh Ride, Drama Queen, and Darkest Hour. And the white is just leftover that I've had forever from making gnomes. The next thing that I've finished is for the Saturday Social and the Knitting in the Loft group, and that is the Coffee and Tea DK pot holder by Gravity Slave. Now mine is not a pot holder. I used Knit Picks Comfy Fingering in Planetarium and Knit Picks Cotlin, and I think the color is Honey for mine. And it made this little cloth, and I think I'm just going to use it as a coaster. If I was to make a pot holder, it would be made with wool, because wool is somewhat fire resistant, and you don't want to use cotton for a pot holder because that would not wick away much of the heat. So DK, this way, DK is double knitting. So this way it's yellow with a blue coffee cup, and this way it is blue with a yellow coffee cup. I did get a little bit out of the pattern up here with the steam. Somehow I ended up with stitches over here that were supposed to be over here, but really I'm the only one that knows that, and now all of you do. But it doesn't take away from the cloth in any way, because your coffee steam can go in whatever direction it wants to go in. So again, that is the Coffee and Tea DK pot holder by Gravity Slave, using Knit Picks Comfy Fingering in Planetarium and Knit Picks Cotlin in what I think is the Honey colorway. Then for our summer color, the Knitting in the Loft Simply Stranded. It's the color work challenge that we're doing in the Knitting in the Loft group. We had the Jacquard Appetizer. It's ladder back Jacquard. It's a technique for when you're working color work and you have a lot of a big space that you have to carry one color behind the other color. That helps keep your knitting uniform, and you don't have to catch your floats. So you're using the ladder back Jacquard instead of catching your floats. So like for the checkered section here, this is a little cup cozy that I made using the pattern that Sarah in our group made for us, because she made the pattern for wristlets, but I made a cup cozy because I need some for my car for when me and the kids stop and get a beverage and we want a cup cozy. And I've been using it with my iced coffee. I have an iced coffee cup that I use that came with a plastic sleeve on it, and if I freeze the cup, the plastic sleeve just gets soaking wet. So why not make my own? They're better anyway. So this one is with the ladder back Jacquard. So in this checkered section, we didn't have to catch floats because it's one stitch, you know, color A, color B, color A, color B, color A. But for the long sections, we did have to catch the stitches, and it takes a little bit more work to catch them, to set it up, and then to catch them, but it is totally worth it. You can see the ladder back Jacquard stitches on the back here. They make everything on the front stay nice and tidy, as long as you bring your both of your yarns to the front before you work the ladder back Jacquard. If you don't bring both yarns to the front when you work it, then you would get a row, it would show through on the right side, and you don't want that. That's the whole point, is to not have it showing through. So this is the ladder back Jacquard Appetizer, and my friend Sarah in the Knitting in the Loft group made up this pattern for us. The next thing I finished is the Helina Snowflake by Kame Crochet. And this snowflake is so tiny and adorable. Just look at that. Let's see if I can get it in focus here. So this is the Helina Snowflake by Kame Crochet. I've been making these using yarn or thread, knitting thread that or call it crochet thread that I got from a friend when her great aunt died, who used to be a crocheter. And it has all these little puff stitches. It's just, mine is really little. I think the pattern was written for like a DK weight, and I used the thread, and I think it's just little and adorable. And I really like how it looks in this blue thread. So again, that's the Helina Snowflake by Kame Crochet. And the last thing that I finished is my Tunisian crochet dishcloth that I keep in my car. This one only gets worked on when I'm in my car sitting and waiting for something, or if I take it out of my car to sit and wait for one of my kids to do something, or something like that. So it does not get very much attention. It has literally been months in my car that it's been sitting there. I haven't washed it or blocked it or even woven in the ends, but it's done. It's a black dishcloth. It's nice for the car because usually I'm working on it in the afternoon when I go to pick up my groceries, because I'm lazy and I hate the grocery store. So I order all my groceries online and I go and pick them up. So there's that. But here is, it's just basic Tunisian crochet, straight across washcloth. And this is peaches and cream or lilies and cream cotton yarn that I used for it, that was given to me by a friend. Excuse the noise in the background. My dog has a new toy and he's kind of going to town right now. So there's no pattern, just regular basic Tunisian crochet stitch. Let's move on to knit-alongs. The first knit-along that I'm somewhat participating in, I have been making a lot of socks, so I don't really post as many in there as I should, but it is the Momma Just Knits podcast, and she has a Ravelry group, and she's hosting the Summer Sock Knitting Cow, and that is from May 24th, 2025 to August 31st, 2025. And she asks that you make adult socks. No baby socks, no little kid socks. They could be shorty socks, but they need to be adult socks. So, and she does give extra points if you make the socks out of her yarns, because she has her own yarn that she hand dyes. So that's the Momma Just Knits podcast, Summer Sock Knitting Cow, and that runs from May 24th to August 31st, 2025. The next knit along that I participate in is the Project a Month knit along, and for July we're doing the Summer Mesh Sweater by Susan Frick. I already showed you mine. I still have a few weeks to get that done. Not sure if it'll get done in a few weeks, but I'll give it a shot. I'll give it my best shot. My oldest daughter does have a doctor's appointment on Friday, and I think that that's probably what I'll take with me, because it seems like it's pretty easy going. So that's the Project a Month Cow group. And for July, we're doing the Summer Mesh Sweater by Susan Frick. And then in the Knitting in the Loft group, I've already mentioned this, the Simply Stranded 2025 Loft Summer Challenge and Cow. And that runs from June 1st to September 1st, 2025. And we are through all of our appetizers, but there's still time for you to jump in. You can do the appetizers, or you can jump in for the main course. We have an amazing way of getting entries for the drawing for the main course prize. You can get, in one of my examples that I did, there were 24 entries that you can get into the drawing with just one project. So if that's something you might be interested in, jump over to the Knitting in the Loft group. That is a Simply Stranded 2025 Loft Summer Challenge and Cow. and it runs from June 1st to September 1st, 2025. And last, but definitely not least, not last, second to last and definitely not least, the Yarniacs podcast group is hosting their Colors of Fall knit along. And when I say knit along, you can do whatever along you like. You can knit, you can crochet, you can weave, you can spin. Any of the things that you want to do are fine, as long as one of the colors in whatever you're doing are one of the colors on the New York or London Pantone palettes for spring or fall. You can even squint to see the color. You know, even if you have to squint to see the color, you can still use it. So that runs from June 20th, which is the summer solstice here in the United States, to the fall solstice in September 22nd of 2025. So that's the Yarniacs podcast group, Colors of Fall knit along. And the last one, this is the last one for real that I'm participating in, is bingo with the Craft, Cook, Read, Repeat podcast group. This is for crafting, cooking, and reading. Any craft. You can sew, you can paint, you can any craft, woodworking, any craft that you want to do, you can get squares on the bingo sheet, and it's for crafting, cooking, and reading. So I'm going for the coverall. I've already got a couple of bingos. I've been reading a lot and I've been crafting a lot, which I do all the time. And I always try to, well, I cook every day, but I always try to mix things up so that I can get my coverall in the summer. I say always. This is my second year. So last year I got a coverall. This year I'm going for the coverall too. And that runs from May 23rd to September 1st, 2025, which is Labor Day here in the United States. Okay, let's move on to more out than in. June was a big one because I know in the last episode I mentioned that I had given some stuff from the D-Stash to the D-Stash table at the Yarniacs retreat that I went to, and that really helped me. So for June, I had 7,657 yards sent out of my stash, and I only brought in 4,355 yards. So that's a pretty substantial difference there. So for the year, I'm at 11,883 yards sent out and 5,735 brought in. I wasn't planning on buying any yarn until September when I went to Wisconsin Sheep and Wool, and I wasn't even sure I was going to buy any there. I love to go there. I'm going to see some friends there and just have a good time. But I did order a skein of yarn, just one skein of yarn for socks for one of my kids. So it is what it is. I'm going to use it. I have a plan for it. It's going to be used before Christmas because the socks are going to be a Christmas present. So there you go. That's more out than in. Let's move on to my patterns. I'm still working on my next shawl pattern. I'm hoping to have it released in December because the yarns that I'm using are the Leading Men's Fiber Arts Show Stealer, and they're in Bare Necessities, which is a nice white, and Krampus is this amazing green, and then Poison Apple is a red. So pretty Christmassy colors. So I'm hoping to get this released in time for Christmas, hopefully by December 1st. But I still have a lot of knitting to do on the sample, and then I have some tech editing that I need done before I can then have the pattern tested. So that's a new shawl, and I don't have a name for it yet. It's just a unique construction of a triangle shawl. Okay, let's move on to gardening. Okay, I am outside again for gardening today. I wanted to give you an update on my Mr. Stacky that I had ordered a while back. I'm going to put my camera here. You can see that plants have started coming up. This is my peppermint that I planted. Peppermint. I'm pretty sure it's peppermint. And this is my dill. Look at this. Look how tall this guy is. Super big dill. Then we have the oregano. That's coming up right here. And I'm hoping that it'll get quite a bit bigger before summer. So I'm hoping to dry all these herbs in my dehydrator. So then we have cilantro. And I wish I could really remember what I planted in all of these, because I have these here that I don't really know what they are, because they don't look like anything that is on the packages. It could be lavender, but I kind of felt that this one was the lavender. So if you're a better gardener than I am, please let me know if you recognize any of these plants. And then I believe this is my basil. That's why I have my little basil thing here. I didn't label these. Next year I definitely will. This is where I planted my chives. They did not come up. I'm not surprised that they did not come up, because I was looking on the seed packet. It said to plant the chives in the fall. And I waited until summer to plant them. I'm going to keep that one out, so maybe it'll come later. I'll bring it in the house when it starts to get cold and just take care of it there. So that's my update for my Mr. Stacky herbs. I also planted some thyme at the same time. So here is my thyme. It's doing great in this pot. The reason that it is separate from the others is simply because I forgot that I had the seeds when I planted the others. So that is all that I have for you today. So until next time, keep doing what you love. Bye.